Welcome to Art with Kasey. Today I'm going to show you how to paint these cute little kitty cats. And I'm working in watercolor, and then I'm doing my little details in a permanent black marker. But you could absolutely do this with any kind of paint you have on hand. You just need to wait for it to dry before you go over it with the marker. All right, to get started with these cute little kitty cats, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start just with a paintbrush. And I'm using my 8-color paint palette. So I'm going to do a little bit of mixing. You may have other colors you can use, and that is absolutely fine. You can pick your colors. You can do whatever. So these kitties are inspired by an artist on Instagram that I love to follow, and her name is Terry Runyon. And she just has a really cute way. She only does cats, and she has a cute way, very whimsical, of doing them. And I was looking at her art thinking, you know what, we can do this. So I'm going to start. My first cat is going to be purple. And I'm going to water this paint down so that I have a nice, loose store of paint ready to go here. So the background of my first cat is going to be kind of a light purple. And I haven't decided what color my other cat's going to be yet. The way Terry paints cats and the way we're going to do it is you paint the whole body and the ears of the cat, and they're a little simple shape. So here's our cat body. So our cat body is just like, kind of like the shape of a door with a curved top. And we're just going to paint that in completely. And I'm painting in this light purple color because the detail on my cat that I add later maybe will be darker purple. So this is our cat body. And the next thing we're going to do is paint our cat's head. But we need to leave the space for the eyes white. So, like, here's my cat's head. Doesn't matter that we're touching what we already did. So we're just going to kind of work that head onto the body. But before we paint it in, let's just make our cat's eyes. So that's just kind of like that. So I'm just going to leave these spaces. That's maybe a little too curved. I need to make them a little skinnier. So we're going to leave the cat's eyes unpainted. But we're just going to paint the rest of this in. All right. And then our cat, of course, needs some ears. So we'll go ahead and put some cute little pointy ears up top. So just some pointy little cat ears. So there is my kitty. And I think I want this to go out a little bit wider. I'm just going to kind of fix my cat body shape because I'm not 100% on board with the way I did it the first time. Okay, and then our cat is going to have a cute little tail. So my cat's tail is going to be kind of windy. Like so. And then I'm going to make it kind of thick. And then we're just going to let this dry. So now we can start working on our second cat. Let's see, what color will my second cat be? I'll do blue. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some blue paint and put it in here and water it down. Because I just want that light translucent blue. I don't want a super dark blue right now. Just going for a light color and just enough paint to paint my cat. So that should be plenty. And I'm kind of going to work exactly the same as I just did. Had a little hair on my paper. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the same thing I did before, where I did my cat's body and just painted it in, filled it in. So I'm just filling it in. And then I'm adding a little head shape. And then inside that head, I'm going to put my eyeballs so that I don't paint over them. And you can always make those eyes smaller after your first pass with paint. And then we'll fill in this noggin with more paint. And then once I do that, I'll add some little ears and a tail. So cat, cat, ears, ears. So our ear is just a simple triangle. And then we'll do another ear. And then we have tail. So I'm going to come up, and this kitty's tail is also going to be kind of curvy. So it looks sort of like the first one. Oh, I have a piece of fuzz on my brush. Let's get rid of it. So I'm just kind of going to make it a little bit thicker. And then we're going to let these cats dry, and we can go in a little bit and start putting some detail on them. For now, it's time to decide, what do I want to do with my background? So I think my cats are going to maybe have a moon in the background. Since it's kind of Valentine-y time, I'm thinking, do I maybe want to like a heart-shaped moon? Let's think about this. I think I'll just have a regular moon. So my moon is just going to be a yellow circle. Nothing real fancy, just a yellow circle. And let's see, maybe these cats are sitting up on top of like a fence. So I'm going to make this part underneath these cats brown, and I'm not going to touch the cat part, because if I do, this brown paint will bleed up into that wet paint of the cat body. So I'm just going to leave it alone. So this is the top of the fence my cats are sitting on. I'm just going to make the fence brown. It's just plain brown. I'm kind of watering it down nicely. And then I can decide what color the sky behind them will be. But I think I'm going to put a little tiny heart between them, or some hearts like around them. So I'm going to go into my red. And I'm going to put a little heart right here. Because they're love kitties after all. I am a hearts and flowers person. You may not be, so you don't need to put this in there if it's not your thing. I'm a big goofy romantic, so I'm going to put mine in there. All right. Be a little more color, a little more red in there. So there's my little heart. It's not perfectly symmetrical. That's totally cool with me. Background. What color should my background be? Oh, maybe I'll mix a color. I think my background will be kind of like a... I've already got some blue in here, so I want to make it a sky color. I already have some blue, so I'm going to add more blue. And I'm going to do the whole background this color, so I know I'll need quite a bit of it. So I'm going to come in and just make quite a bit of this blue color. Get some more blue out of here. I always use up my blue first. And I'm going to make this color that is a mixture of blue, maybe some yellow, and then we'll see what it starts looking like. Maybe a little bit of black. But I'm going blue and yellow. So we know that blue and yellow makes green, but it depends on how much blue and how much yellow you use. So when I use more blue and not as much yellow, I get this kind of aqua color, which is nice. So then I'm going to add, and when I say just a little bit, I really mean just a little bit of black to darken that up and make it kind of more of a darkish, maybe a night sky. We'll see what it ends up looking like. All right, so my number one goal is to not touch the places that I have already painted with water. Maybe we should dry. I think let's go ahead and do a drying pass. So I'm gonna pause and then I'll be back when this is dry enough to paint. You can grab a fan, grab another piece of paper, but I'm gonna use my little fan and I'm just gonna dry this. All right, so this is mostly dry. If yours isn't dry, just be really careful when you're painting next to areas that might be wet. So I'm gonna start painting in my little sky. So I put water down first. I don't know if I need to do that. I don't think it's necessary. All right. So I'm going to paint section by section. I'm going to try not to hit the cat. So I'm going to leave maybe like a little bit of space around. Totally just hit that cat. All right. Target fixation, right? Sometimes the one thing you're trying not to run into, you do. I could be a little slower and more careful, but the kind of the aesthetic of this one is it's a little messy. So it's really all right if you have those kind of little mistakes and the paint overlaps just a tiny bit. All right, so I'm just gonna continue working. And I'm going to keep adding little splotches here because I want it to be kind of dark, like it's nighttime, like these kitties are on their Valentine's date. Maybe it's their first date. Maybe they're just meeting. We don't really know. It's your own story, so you can make up whatever you want about these little kitty friends. I have to be very quiet so I can concentrate on this tiny area. All right. All right, there we go. Totally running over my cat with this paint. I am not being as careful as I'm asking you to be, huh? The good thing about stuff like this is it's a very whimsical style, so we can always go back with like the fine black marker and iron out some of these details. And where I had that little hard edge here, I can kind of run my brush over it and water that down again. So let's paint some sky behind this kitty. Great. Perfect. It's interesting the way this is drying because we mixed the blue and the yellow. Some of the pigments are separating a little bit, and it's giving my sky this really interesting stormy look. I'm really liking it, I think. So as this is still wet, I can go in and kind of dot some more paint in there if I want it to be just a little darker. All right, so I'm gonna try again not to hit that red heart because I don't want it to run. I want it to be cute and bright. And I'm just gonna run along the border of this cat. But I'm gonna try not to paint over the paint that already is part of this blue cat. Let's see what I can do here. And I can come back in and I can dot with more paint just to give it that interesting look. And I have to keep mixing this blue and yellow because the pigments are trying to separate. So I need to stay in charge of that. And I'm gonna come around this little ear and try not to hit this cat's head. I'm just gonna keep adding background sky paint. Oh, I hit the ear a little bit. Well, that was bound to happen, huh? All right, and then I'll come down and add some paint here in the middle. And I like to get in these tiny areas when I don't have a lot of paint in my brush. So I get all this paint off my brush and then I can go up in the tiny areas that are very close to the other elements in my painting and paint those. And I really want to get in this tiny place. It's a little scary. I did it. Okay. All right, I overlapped my heart just a tiny bit, but I'm not going to stress about it. It's just watercolor. It's okay. All right, and then I'll fill in this little space here. And sometimes I'm touching the side of my cat, sometimes I'm not. I don't think it really matters in the end. I think it's going to be cute anyway. All right, so I can go back and put some more color in here if I want to. Maybe get some of this white area painted over. And I'm running out of paint, so I'm going to need to mix a little bit more. So we used blue, we used more blue, and then just a little bit of yellow. So just a little of the yellow, a little more. Oh, that's too much. It's a lot of yellow. All right, so I need to add a little more blue in there. And then what did we do? We did a little bit of black, right? Okay. So just that tiny bit of black. All right, so I think that's roughly the same color. Yeah, that looks good. And I'll just go dot some of my newly mixed paint. I'll just dot back in here just to make sure that it looks the same. All right, so now I have enough to continue. So again, I'm going to try to just stay very close to this kitty cat. And if your kitties are still not dry, then you can just do what I did where you have a little white space around them. Kind of like that, like you don't get close enough to accidentally touch. It's very easy to accidentally touch though when you're working like this. I probably, you know, you could always, if you have another brush, you could use a more of a fine tip brush to do this step. But if this is all you have, you can just, you know, make your way. You can only use the tools that you have, so it's good to learn how to use those, right? The good news is that while we're doing all of this detail work, our cat's faces and ears are drying so that when we go in to add their little eyeballs and give them some personality, they're going to be dry enough for us to do that. So as I go around this moon, I like to just paint like a nice little boundary around the moon. That way it's nice and smooth. Get a lot of paint in there. And then I can just add paint, and it should be, it should mind that boundary that I laid down. So I only have to be careful there. All right. This area over here is fun because it's kind of just a free-for-all. And then I'll do the same thing down here by what will be our fence. And I'll cut in here with just the tip of my brush, and I'll pull away. And that way it sweeps the paint outward. It's a little easier. All right. And then if there's any little lost places you want to go get closer, you can. All right, so now I've got the sky done. So the number one thing we don't want to do right now is try to paint some sort of a detail on our sky because it's all still wet. So let's go ahead and let's fan again and just get that sky a little bit drier. It doesn't have to get totally dry, but just a little bit. All right. I'm gonna water down some red. Just a little tiny bit of red because I'm gonna give my cats some cute pink cheeks. So I'm gonna get this red just watered down like this. I don't want a deep dark red. I just want a little tiny bit of red. So then underneath my cat's eyes, I'm just going to give them some little pink cheeks. So you can see how that's really, really light. It's just a light little circle. And then I'm going to dry my brush off and I'm going to lift that paint right out of there. So then we've made a circle, but it's not super dark. And we'll do the same thing on our blue cat's face. So we'll give them this cute little cheek circle. We'll let it sit a minute. And we'll do the other one. So we've got our cheek circles. And then we're going to go lift that paint right out of there. So we're going to go take it away. Goodbye, paint. All right, so we have our kitty's cheek circles. Now, let's add some legs and some little hair and cute stuff to these cats. So I'm gonna go with purple on my purple cat. But I want a darker, oh, that's the wrong color. Wow, look at me. All right, well, we'll just make it bluish purple, that's okay. I want this to be darker and less translucent than the first coat of paint I put on there. I want this to be noticeably darker. And you don't have to mix blue. I just put my paintbrush into the wrong paint. And so get where you can kind of do fine lines. And then on this kitty, we'll do a little triangle inside each ear. That is the darker purple. And to get that point really pointy at the top, I say pull down. That's how it tends to work best for me. All right, so there's our ears, our inner ears. And then let's do some legs. So this kitty's leg is gonna come down and then kind of, it wants to be facing the other cat. So its legs are coming down and then the paw is sort of facing the other kitty. And then for our blue cat, I'm gonna do some dark blue legs. So I'm just gonna bring some blue over here, mix it up. It needs to be a little free-flowing, but it can be much darker than that translucent wash that we started with. And these little feet are gonna be similar to the ones that we did on the other cat, but I want these paws to kind of go toward that cat. So these sort of look like little musical notes, don't they? All right, so there's our little kitty cat feet. Now we can kind of put some little details, like fur details, on these cats if we want to. So I'm going to go back to my purple for this little friend. And I'm going to give it, let's see, I'm going to give it some little, like just some little stripies on its tail. And maybe some little stripies on its face. Let's see. And then maybe some little hairs on its neck. I think my blue cat maybe isn't going to be so stripy. But it can have, oh, I need to do ears. I forgot ears on the blue cat. So we can do our little triangles there. And that's a lot of paint, so I'm going to remove a little bit. And a little triangle here for our kitty ears. And then again, I'm going to remove a little of that paint because that's kind of a lot of paint. All right, so on our blue cat, let's see, do I want to make it stripy? Maybe I'll just make it just like this other one, but it'll have kind of a different stripe pattern on it. So I'm just giving it some loose little decoration on the tail. And then, let's see, this cat's a little floofier, but this cat is not as floofy. Well, there we go. So that's all these cats are getting paint. The rest will draw in. So let's go ahead and make sure that it gets nice and dry. And I'll be back when this is dry and we can go in and add the detailing to our kitties. All right, so my cats are dry for the most part. I don't know about these paws down here, but that we can proceed. So I'm just using a fine point black pen. It's a marker. And I'm going to go in and add a little bit of detail to these kitties. The first thing they're going to get is a cute little nose. So each cat is going to just have like a little triangle nose. And then they're going to have a smile. So this one over here is going to get a triangle nose. And a little smile. And now they look a little bit like zombie cats, so we're going to give them some eyeballs. They're going to be looking at each other, so the black part of their eye is going to be closer to the center. So like this one's looking that way, and this one's looking this way. So I'm going to put this one closer to that side. Cuteness, right? So they're looking at each other, and then they're cats. So they need a little bit of that cat eye eyeliner. So we're going to come up from the top and go out. Same over here. We're going to come up and go out. So there's our little cat eye. And we'll do the same with this little friend here. And you can make it thicker if you want them to appear to have a little thicker of an eyelid. You can give them eyelashes if you want them to have that. Maybe this one will have some eyelashes. And then I'm going to give them a little bit of whiskers and some little ear hairs. So those are just little fast ear hairs. Sometimes these pens only want to write a certain direction. That's okay. I can just move my hand. And then they're going to have whiskers. So just little whiskers coming off their face. You can do 3 or 4, whatever works for you. And then same thing over here. And if you want to, you can give them some little claws. All right. You could put a collar on them. You could do a lot of different things, but that's where I'm going to stop. And then I'm just going to outline my little heart. And maybe give it some little radiating rays. And then we can go down. I'm going to kind of make this look like a fence. So I'm going to come in and make some little rectangles here, like they're really actually sitting up on a fence. Excuse me. So there's our fence. And if you want to, you can add some little, like maybe this wood is old and cracking. Give it that little weathered look. Completely optional, of course, but I'm adding it. I like to add all the things and all the little details. So then I might do some coming upward also. I don't know that this is necessary, but I have started it, so I'm doing it. Committed. All right. Now all that's left is, if you want, you can add some little things in the background. So I'm going to add like a lot of little like floofy floral stuff in the background, like these kitties are on a fence that's just near, maybe near a forest, and there's a lot of stuff growing. So I'll do that in time lapse so you can watch it really quickly. Okay, so I think I'm done. You can see I have a lot of little different things going on. I might come in later like with a white pen, do some stars, or put a little white dot in their eyes, but I think it's adorable for now, and this is where I'll end our tutorial. You can do whatever you want to yours. I can't wait to see them if you're able to share them with me. I hope you had fun with my little love cats today.